listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo!
My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Hello and welcome to BaaD Radio. BaaD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. We are here in the News Radio WFLA Orlando studios from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I'm your host, Angela Smarito. And in studio with me, we have our producer, Melissa Fox.
Hey!
How are you doing today, darling?
I'm good.
Very cool. And then next to me, we have Melissa Jacob with Striking Brand.
Hello.
Mm-hmm. So she is our videographer, but she is also a photographer. And if you go to baadradio.com, you can see all the previous episodes of BaaD Radio. And actually, I'm going to introduce our guest in just a second, but she's on there already now too.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go to strikingbrand.com, you can see all of Melissa's other work because, as I mentioned, she is a videographer as well as a photographer. All right. Our guests, well, we have a power couple in today. Please welcome attorneys Kristine Tucker and Joe Coughlan with Coughlan's Law.
Hi.
Thank you.
I've never had a guest come in matching shirts before, and I really like it a lot.
We should start a thing.
So, Kristine, you've been on the show once before, but this is Joe's first time. I can't see Kristine's face, so we're just going to have to pretend like we can see each other.
I can see the top of your head.
Okay,
so
that works.
And I know what you look like. So,
So this is Joe's first time in. So, Kristine said you were a little nervous. How are you feeling now?
I think it's going to be all right.
Okay, I think so too. You don't look nervous. You look very calm. But first, we're going to talk about the networking news, and it is brought to us by Symphonic CBD. Symphonic CBD is a branch of Live Your Best Life, both advocates for Green Compass Global. Green Compass products are USDA, organic, lab-tested, non-GMO, made in the USA, and cruelty-free CBD products, and they are key to making calmness a habit. And they also have CBD products for our fur babies. To get more information on the benefits of CBD, visit symphonic-cbd.com. That's symphonic-cbd.com. So for networking news, I talked to both Kristine and Joe earlier because I wanted to direct this segment towards attorneys and different things like networking opportunities for attorneys. And they started to rattle all this stuff up. And I was like, okay, hold on. Just hold the show because we're going to actually talk about it on the show. So I'm going to go back to like my original statement is as somebody's coming up and they're going to law school, are there networking opportunities for them to go to in order to like get a little bit of a step ahead? Or is there anything for that available?
yeah, there's actually a lot. And some of it depends on the practice area you want to go into, which as a law student, you don't know what your area is going to be until you get out and you get your first job. I mean, that's just what it is.
Is that really? So
it is.
When you both started law school, you didn't know what branch of the law you wanted to study?
I think everyone who wants to be an attorney has an idea, and you start working in the field, you start doing some of it, and part of it clicks for you, and some of it doesn't resonate as much as you thought it would, and it changes throughout the schooling.
Right.
A lot of things you thought you would do as an attorney, maybe as a child or getting up, once you start doing it, you realize it's not for you, and you're drawn somewhere else.
That's interesting. I've never realized that. I kind of figured people had an idea when they started law school.
Right.
But-
But I guess once you get into it, you learn more about it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I got lucky. I was doing this area of law as a paralegal for a while, long while. So I kind of knew, but it didn't mean that that's where I was going to end up as a lawyer. So, but back to the question, there's a lot of, there's different bar sections. One of them that I'm on the executive council for is the real property probate and trust section. So
It's called Reptile.
Reptile is the our acronym.
She
our
kept saying it
nickname.
to me earlier, and I was like, "Are we talking about amphibians here, or are
Right.
we talking about four-legged like lizards?" And she's like, "No."
Yeah. So, and what that is with the section, what that section does is they get together quarterly and they have different subcommittees and they review the laws and they review different cases that came down or places they have to fix it, and they discuss how to fix it and what we should bring to the legislature to fix any problems that come along, right? So maybe a really bad case comes down. And we're all kind of like, oh, no, that's not going to work overall. Like, that's a nightmare.
Right.
So that's what we do, right? And in that, you have some of the best minds in those areas. And people, I find a lot, especially with law students, they're like, oh, I hated property. I hated wills. But the class you take in law school is just it's principle. It's not practice.
Right.
So sometimes once they meet these attorneys and they go to the council meetings and they kind of see how it really works, they kind of get into it.
Is anybody like what qualifications do you have to have in order to be invited or to
Well, as a law student, the section always welcomes law students to go. In fact, I'm kind of glad we're talking about that right now because for especially the local law students, and I've been, on FAMU's campus and Barry's campus quite a bit in the last couple of weeks talking about it to students, but they have an opportunity that doesn't always come up because these meetings that happen all over the state.
Okay.
Right? So, it may be that one February I have to be in the Keys, which is so terrible. And then the next I have to be in Boca, and then I have to be in the Panhandle, and then I have to
hate that.
Right, it's terrible. Oh my gosh. The only constant is July with the breakers, and go to the breakers. Ew. But, there's a meeting in November in Tampa, and then there's a meeting in February in Orlando. So anybody local, they love it, especially for law students, right? Because every time they suspect there are students, every subsection, and there's when I tell you there's a whole bunch of committees going on all at once. You think property, it's like commercial and title and and all this stuff that I do not practice, so I don't know all the rest of them, but there's a lot of them. And then on my side, there's all this probate law and procedure, all these different committees going on at once. And they'll start each meeting and say, do we have any law students? Please get up, introduce yourself, and, what year and what school. And the second you do that,
oh my God, you're in front of all of these attorneys.
Right. And then you have all these attorneys. Some of them literally wrote the books.
Wow.
I mentioned that at Barry. I was there last night. And I forgot to bring all my, the books that I use in practice with me. And I was like, guys, I wish I'd remembered because I would rattle off the list of the authors and I'd be like, so that guy chairs that one, this girl, this chick chairs the da-da-da-da-da. And these people really literally wrote the book. So it's a really, really cool opportunity for them. And especially because, I don't forget what it was like in law school. You're terrified to do anything that's not studying, right?
Yeah.
And,
So absolutely. You guard your calendar.
Right. You're terrified. But it's a great opportunity. And things like that, even if you end up, I've heard, because I've mentored students pretty much since I got out of law school. And I've had students, a couple of years down where I'm so proud now they've been barred 5-6 years,
right?
And they're like, I loved going to reptile even though I practiced this, and they've made connections and all that.
It sounds like a good resource too.
It is an amazing resource.
Yeah, it absolutely is, because I didn't necessarily have a legal background. I wasn't a paralegal before law school, didn't come from a legal family, so it was a great way for me to get exposed to the legal community that I did not have connections. And there's something about attorneys when they meet law students, they have a tendency to want to mentor them, but they also look at them as possible interns,
well, that's what I was
who
gonna
can
say,
help me with
too.
a project coming up this summer. And you get into the law school, so it's great exposure.
And a
both for
foot in
law
the
students,
door.
absolutely. Internships lead to summer internships, might lead to the first job at a law school.
Right.
And same thing with a new attorney. When you're a first-year attorney coming out, you don't have all the connections. Everyone you knew in law school is now dispersed across the country, possibly. So getting involved in these sections and with your local chapters is a great way to reestablish those connections.
And how does somebody find the information to do that?
Well, there's the Florida Bar, which is a great resource. And then once again, in your county, like a state like Florida, you can go to your county. So Orlando, you can go to the Orlando County Bar Association. If you were in Hillsborough County Bar Association. Follows the same model throughout
So you
the
just
state.
get on their website and it will list off the
It'll
different...
have all of the different chapters you can join, and then they'll have their individual websites, which may have some nominal student dues. A student is always going to get in there cheaper than a professional. They're encouraging students to join. And these are also the same resources that people would look for pro bono legal help if they can't afford. So it's these same institutions kind of cover all of it. So those are your sites that can really be the jumping off point for your local area.
Well, that was fascinating, and we probably are going to touch base on that a little bit more, but that music means that we're going to break, and so when we get back, I want to jump into how Coughlan's Law got started. So stay tuned for more BaaD Radio.
If you're interested in networking with BaaD Radio, go to BaaD.radio.com. We do this for you every Sunday from 11 until 1. Business at a Distance will return on News Radio WFLA, Orlando.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore. Hey guys, it's time to head over to Premier Couple Superstore and surprise your sweetheart with that sexy bedroom outfit. Premier Couple Superstore has got a huge selection of lingerie, shoes, toys, games, love oils, and a ton of great gifts. With Premier Couple Superstore, you don't pay those high prices because you're going to go directly to the source. 5009 South OBT, or shop online, because a couple that plays together stays together. Oh, that was cute.
I don't know if we want something cute at the end of that.
Actually, she's got a point there. Yeah, I like the oh yeah
I
better.
don't know if we want kids at the end of that one.
No.
She has a valid
That's
point.
a crowd.
Oh, okay.
I mean, really, listen. It's adults.
It's a crowd of children.
I know. I hear kids.
You're a preschool.
All right, carry on.
All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. And we're here with the power couple from Coughlan's Law, Kristine and Joe. So before we went to break, we were talking about some networking opportunities, but I want to backtrack right now and actually talk about the firm and how it got started. So I guess it would start by, first of all, how you two met. Were you an attorney when you guys met?
We met in law school, so
Okay.
neither one of
Yeah.
us were attorneys quite
Okay.
yet.
You were law
Cute.
students.
Yes.
Yes.
So what about the whole thing about you don't want to do anything but study? Huh?
Yeah.
Doesn't
Well-
sound
Where'd
like
that
it happened
go?
here.
I mean, you got to
Hold on.
network sometimes.
Right. And in fairness, we didn't get together until after I was barred and you were about to take the bar.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
So she will
Right.
always lord it over me that she's been an attorney slightly longer.
Right. But now he can lord over me that he's been barred New Jersey longer than me. I got my results yesterday.
I saw your
so,
post.
Yeah.
When
very
you post,
excited.
when you say stuff like that, I'm like, I don't know what she means, but it sounds good, so I'm gonna give it a heart.
Right. Thank you. It's very exciting.
How many
Um,
different states can you
right.
practice?
Right now, well, I'm still in just Florida
Okay.
until I get sworn in. And Joe is Florida and New Jersey.
Okay.
Now, why would you want to be an attorney in a state that you don't live in?
Oh, well, we have family up there, so
Okay.
it's nice to be able to advise them as an attorney. If you're not licensed in a state, you just can't give any advice. You're not qualified, and you're going to cause a lot of problems. So, like I said, we have family up there, so we thought about it. And also, nowadays, the way business works, as you know, everything's remote. Court still happens a lot in person, but you can take cases on all over the country now, and you can effectively work them.
That's really interesting.
Right.
So, in order to become barred in a state, I mean, is it simply? And I don't mean simply bias. I'm not simplifying the test, but is it you have to take that exam?
Sure. It depends on which state in the country. So Florida example has its own bar exam. I say it doesn't play well with any other state. It doesn't have what they call reciprocity. You get a license in one state, you can practice in another state. Historically, we all think it's because everyone wants to retire to Florida, so lawyers don't want a whole lot of attorneys retiring down here and being able to practice.
Ah,
Are there a lot of states that do that?
California does the same thing.
I mean, so there's fewer that don't play
Don't
nice.
play exactly. Yes.
Oh, okay.
There's a trend now. They have what's called the uniform bar exam, and I believe there's at last count about 25 states participate in that. So that's what we just took in New Jersey.
Okay.
So when you pass that, each state can set its own passing score, but it's the same test throughout. So
okay.
if you get a high enough score, you can be licensed in any one of those states. Clearly, once you get your license, you need to maintain those states' requirements, continuing
Right.
educations, good faith stuff like that.
Nice.
so you guys met in law school,
Yeah.
and were you both going towards the same field of law?
No, well, we met. The reason we met is because, and I was notorious for this in law school. If there was a school organization that needed an officer, because they have to have X amount of officers, or they have to dissolve the chapter.
Okay.
So it was one of those that, like, someone would call me up and they'd be like, just talk to that person. Like, you don't have to do it, but just, if you don't, just talk to them for a few minutes. So I had a friend call up and say they were, it was the Stonewall chapter at FAMU, was about to dissolve. And she's like, they're having a networking event, just go. You don't have to, just go. And I was a night student, Joe was a day student. So he had the same conversation. And by the end of the night, you were the president, I was the vice president. And then,
I'm going to take this information to our BNI chapter,
Yeah.
just so you know.
yeah. So, and we ended up doing all these events together. And it was kind of fun because when we first took over as officers for the Stonewall chapter, it was really, really small. Like, we didn't have a whole lot of members. So between us and the rest of our board, we were like, all right. And it was Joe's idea, right? Joe's like, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go get these cards printed up, and we're just going to paper the school with them. And we're going to show up one morning, and we're going to have like coffee and donuts and orange juice, and they won't know the difference. Like, these new students are going to think that we're huge. And sure enough,
It worked.
it worked.
That's awesome.
It's law school's version of guerrilla marketing.
I think it's
Oh,
fantastic.
I love that.
I mean, like, we were taping stuff in the restrooms, and then,
I
they were
call
like,
it boots on the street. That's what we call it, like, for the advertising agency. We're like, if you need a campaign that's boots on the street, we can do that too.
yeah.
So that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it. So you guys did that, and so you grew this chapter that was about to dissipate all the way into like one of the biggest ones on campus.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, every organization has ups and downs, but yes, it's still live and healthy there on campus these years later, and that's great to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that story. And then so take us on from there. Next, it was you guys graduated. You're dating. It's you've passed the bar. Did you start and practice together, or did you guys go to different employers?
Yeah, no, separately. at first.
yeah, separately. So when I had first gotten out, I was looking for jobs, and it was like, I have bills I have to pay. So I started my own firm, and I had that
right off the start.
Right. And I ended up with a lot of, it happens, like we joke about it, ended up with a bunch of family law. And I had a trial, won the trial, was great, that was all great. But one of my old bosses had called me up when she found out I was barred. And it's the practice area that I really enjoy, which is the estates, and called me up, and she's like, hey, you want to come work for me? And I was like, yeah, I do. And then Joe went straight into workers' comp.
Yeah, like we said in the first segment, you don't always end up doing what you think you're going to start with. I thought I wanted to be chained to a desk doing contracts for companies all the time. It turned out I didn't like that as much, and one of my friends early in law school got me into workers' compensation, clerked with a judge during law school for it, and did defense, worked for insurance defense firms doing workers' compensation out of law school. Big firms, medium-sized firms, kind of moved around for that. Ultimately decided I don't like to work for the insurance companies. They are not, in fact, my friends.
That's like an ongoing theme.
I know.
Yeah, there's ebbs and flows. I tell people, we're two sides of the same coin. Ultimately, we're trying to protect citizens and give them what they're entitled to without being taken advantage on either side. So the pendulum's going to swing back and forth from year to year, and we're in an insurance-friendly time.
One thing I did not understand about being attorney, and I learned this through the BNI networking, is that when attorney launches their own firm, I just always thought, you get your law degree, you become a lawyer, and you're making, hundreds of $1,000s out of that's I know, but I mean,
You kind of think that.
I
Same
do.
thing with,
It is
same
it's
thing
a
with
surviving
doctors,
myth.
yeah. And because people are when talking about the best professions, doctors, lawyers,
Doctors, lawyers, you guys just make buku bucks like that.
but it's a lot of hard work.
Yes, absolutely.
It is a lot of hard work. And, sometimes even if, let's say you have a good quarter or whatever, when you break down how much you actually worked for
Don't
that
do it.
money,
I'd say just don't do
You're
your
like-
what
I know.
you got paid per hour.
And then, for Joe and I together, we are together 24 hours a day,
Right.
7 days a week. We work all the time. We went on a vacation. When we took the bar, we said, look, we're going to just book a cruise anywhere, 5 days, 5 days. I just don't want any internet. I don't want any phone. And we had a case go to appeal 2 weeks
Yeah,
before,
right
and
before.
it was an expedited calendar. So we looked at each other and we're like, all right, I think for 5 days we brought 5 suitcases. One of them had clothing in it. the rest of it had all of our case files. I
Oh
mean,
my
we brought, it was like
geez.
law school all over again.
Yeah.
We had, all of our books, our binder, all of our evidence, all of highlighters, everything. And,
Yeah, I think we almost gave the porter a hernia when he tried to lift our
Oh,
case.
Right.
jeez. So it doesn't sound like much of a vacation.
You got to really love what you do.
well, we
Yeah.
kind of did have fun.
Well,
we did.
We're going to go to break, and we won't be gone long, so stay tuned for more Bad Radio with Coughlan's Law.
That's Angela Smerito, your host, co-host, Melissa Jacob. I am Melissa Fox, and we will be right back with Bad Radio.
Welcome back to Bad Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back to Bad Radio, and this portion of Bad Radio is brought to you by Forge IT Consulting, providing a fully outsourced IT department with a personal touch for small business. No company is too small. ForgeITConsulting.com. And we are here with Coughlan's Law. We have Kristine and Joe. And actually, we talked a little bit about how they got started, how they met, and then the direction they went after college. So what eventually brought you two together to form Coughlan's Law? And I love the name, by the way. I want to talk about that a little bit. Cocktail, the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can start with that, or we can start how we came together. Your choice.
How it came together.
Okay. So like I said, I was doing insurance defense and decided that wasn't for me. And so I left that side and joined what we call the other side of the V. Started representing people making claims against insurance companies.
So I'm just out of curiosity. So when you say you do that, you're going to work, like, are you like freelancing with other attorneys' firms, or
When I was doing insurance defense?
no, afterwards?
No, I left and I joined another firm.
Another firm. Okay.
Correct, yes. And that's what they did is personal injury. I brought workers' compensation knowledge to that firm, so we started doing that. And they continued with that now. And we have a great relationship. They're good colleagues. We just kind of outgrew it at a moment and decided, I think as a lot of businesses did in that COVID time, what do I want going into the years forward? Realized didn't want to do the insurance defense, didn't want to do what they call big law. The corporate world just wasn't exactly for me in that same way. I think at the same time, Kristine was feeling similar things. We had talked about it, started putting
What were
together
you
the
doing at
resources.
the time, Kristine?
I was working at a firm doing
estates?
with estates, yeah.
Okay.
And that's, like I said, we work together on some, but that's my primary area.
Okay.
And the people were great. My bosses were great. It just
Something was missing.
for me, I kind of wanted my own culture. I wanted my own. It's like sometimes I'll tell people, we have suits. If we have to go to court, you'll see that I have a suit. I do. I own suits, and I clean up real nice. But I don't want to have to do that every day, especially with, I'm often talking to people who just lost a loved one or preparing for that. It's pretty heavy stuff. So I'd rather be more comfortable and more casual and really focus on their needs than worry about a show.
No, I totally understand that, because that's another misconception, is that all attorneys are suit ties, kind of stuffy, kind of have a bit of arrogance. I've learned through networking as well is that is not the case either. So you guys were both kind of at that point where you're like, okay, we're not happy with what we're currently doing.
Yeah, and then July 2020, we founded the firm, and then got the brick and mortar. It started kind of virtually at first, and then we got the brick and mortar office a couple of months later, and it's been rolling since then.
Where is the brick and mortar?
It's off of Orange Blossom Trail and Lee Road. If you know Old Orlando, it's in the Rosemont area.
Okay. And so what made you decide, is it because you needed a place to separate a home from
Little of column A, little of column B in that one. I think anybody who wants to hire an attorney needs to trust that they're going to be there, and brick and mortar still provides that. But more importantly, with a lot of what Kristine does, and I'll let her take over, that you can't. It's not the same doing it Zoom or a telephone call. You need to speak. These are very sensitive conversations that you're having with people. You can't rush them, and so the office, it's still a need, I feel, for most attorneys.
I didn't think about that. I was just like, hey, you guys are together. You just save the money and work from home. But he does make a very valid point to have some place to go with, like, you sit down and have like a conversation with people about that. So, all right. So what was that you said Kristine was going to take over?
Oh, well, and another thing too is, Florida's really strict on the way you sign your estate planning documents. So this gives us a place where if somebody's done an estate plan, they come in, we schedule it, we have it signed. If there's anything that we have to change, I could do it right there on the spot.
Mhm.
And we know that those documents are valid and good. And I don't have to worry about these people running into an issue later on when they really need them. You know,
Mhm.
so that's another thing about having the office that's nice.
So that's really interesting. So where the document's signed makes a difference?
It's not so much where, it's how. So we don't allow electronic notarization. The witnesses, Florida is, what is it, line of sight. So I have to
See it.
is yeah. I have to watch you sign it directly in front of me.
Mhm.
I can't turn my head. I can't be in the other room. I can't be around the corner. We all have to sit there and watch each other sign it. And then the notary has to affirm that we've done it.
I totally agree with that. I think that like all that digital stuff makes it so people can get scammed
Oh, yeah.
way too much. I hear a commercial that talks about people getting their titles of their house stolen online. Is that a thing?
Yeah, and it's not an area that we practice, but yes, there's a lot of things that can be done with title agencies. And like Kristine mentioned earlier, she does the estate planning and the death side, but that group, that Reptile, they also do the real property. So when you go to those sections, they're talking about a lot of those things.
Right.
There's certain companies that they're all looking at that's like, there's some things that are going wrong. Do we need to look at that? Who do we need to inform? But yes, online, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time.
So in estate planning, I know it has to do with when someone passes and all of their belongings and kind of sorting that. Like what?
It's kind of both.
Okay.
Right. So, and a lot of people overlook. I mean, a lot of people will call it and be like, "Oh, I don't even have an estate." Yeah, you do. You know,
It's not just where you live. It's
right.
like
It's not just where you live. It's like you have a toothbrush, right? You have like $10 in your bank account. You have something.
Okay.
You know. But it's also there's documents that are really, really important when you're alive that people overlook. And those documents, it's like power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, all that kind of stuff. It avoids someone having to go get guardianship over you if something happens. So it's kind of a twofold, right? So you look at the best way to avoid probate. Not that probate is this horrible, terrible thing, but it could be really expensive, and two, oftentimes it'll freeze assets for a long period of time.
Time and money.
Yeah. Well, let's do this real quick. Let's explain to the audience what probate actually means.
Okay.
Let's give a scenario.
Okay. So, for example, right, and I'll address a misconception at the same time. I have a will, right, and my will says that I leave everything to Joe.
Okay.
But everything I have is titled in my name, doesn't have Joe as a beneficiary, doesn't have him as a co-owner. I die, right? So now Joe has this will, it says everything goes to him. In order to change the title over and to have that actually happen, Joe has to take that will down to the probate court and have a probate judge approve the will, that the will's valid, that he's a proper person to get things, and go through this process. And there's, if I go into the whole probate process, we'll be here all day, but because there's different types and things like that. But
so he can't just send that will to the insurance or the mortgage company. The mortgage is going to be like,
Correct.
okay,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't. So a lot of times the call that I get is I just went down to the clerk's office with the will, and they told me to go find a lawyer, and I don't understand. And it's like, well, because that's kind of how it works, and
annoying.
it is, and there's ways to avoid it. You just have to plan ahead of time.
Right.
You
so
know.
you can get the will and the estate plan done at the same time by your firm,
Yes.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
How does everybody get started? I mean, like, at what stage of our life should we start looking at this?
Well, you really always should. You always should, because one, you never know. And I am like the queen of doom and gloom, so I could tell you terrible stories.
I don't believe that. You're like the most bubbly, happy person I know.
She keeps it all inside.
Well, it's when I have those conversations where it's my favorite way to kill people, right? So I'm like, so your whole entire family is coming back from the best vacation you ever had, and everything was great. Nobody got sunburned. The food was amazing. Drinks were amazing. And all of a sudden you're on a plane and it hits them out and everybody dies instantly. Now what?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to kill you like when you had a bad day. No, like you're coming
Once
back
again,
from the best day ever.
conversations that work well in an
Right,
office.
right. So, but you have to figure like my niece, right? When she turned 18, she was so used to my mom, her grandma, doing everything for doctor's appointments, this, that, and the other, right? The kid's getting ready for college, and she's on the tennis team. She's this, she's that. And she's like, Grandma, I need an appointment for, my sports physical. And my mom called up, and they were like, she's 18.
Uh-huh.
So my mom called, my sister, and my sister was like, she tried calling, and they're like, no, your kid's 18.
Oh,
Sorry.
I know. It happened
She
with
has
me
to
with
do it."
Anna. Like when
Right.
Anna turned 18, I called to make our doctor's appointment, and they're like, yeah, no.
Right.
And I'm like, Anna, you have to do it. And she's
Yeah.
like, what?
Right.
Ooh, I like that song too.
So do I.
Uh-huh. But yeah, that's actually really interesting as far as like they come of age and then all of a sudden, boom.
It's the complexity of the plan that you need that changes.
Well, when we get back, I want to talk about building that plan from start to finish. So everybody stay tuned, and we're going to have more Bad Radio when we get back.
Even my mama thinks that my mind is gone, but I ain't never crossed a man.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of the show is brought to you by Ground Up Property Services. With the changing of seasons out there, it's a good time to get your irrigation system serviced, so call Ground Up Property Services today. I don't know about you guys, but I went through a monsoon trying to get here today.
Same.
Yeah. Also, with the season, it's a very good idea to ask or call with Ground Up Property Services about a water sensor so your lawn doesn't get too much water, which again would be today because it was a downpour. And don't forget about the lawn painting service. If you are planning an outdoor event and you want to hide those brown spots on the lawn, call 407-468-4295. And you can also reach them at groundupinc.net. Yeah, we have Ground Up Property Service. We talked about Rick earlier. He has a part of his business where he can paint the brown spots on lawns. So
I
that
didn't
they
know that
look-
was a thing. That's amazing. I don't have a green thumb at all, so we might have to call them at some
Well,
point.
if you have people, if you're having like an outdoor party or something like that, or you have an HOA that's sending you nasty grams, he can fix that, and it's all good. It's not bad
Good
for
for
the
the
environment.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we are here with Kristine Tucker and Joe Coughlan with Coughlan's Law, and we are going to build a scenario right now because my goal is to have people pick up the phone and call you and schedule an appointment to get the ball rolling for their will, for what all this other stuff, so that when something does happen, they're taken care of and they can feel comfortable that that's all in place. So how does someone get started?
Okay. Well, a first thing would be to contact us, right? So generally what will happen is someone will contact and they'll schedule an appointment.
Is it usually for a will? Is that when people mostly call you for?
Go ahead.
I would say, honestly, they don't know. And most people don't know. They know they don't have things, and they know they hear bad things that happen, and they know they need something, and they have a fear scenario when they call, and they just start a conversation. And then with the experience, we kind of gear them towards, these are the appropriate documents that accomplish your goals.
Is it usually something that triggers people to call you?
Usually. Either they saw the difficulty that a different family member went through,
That's what
or
I
a
was
friend
thinking,
went
a friend
through,
or family member.
or they just discovered that they have an illness, or a friend just passed. It's usually some kind of, because nobody wants to think about this, right? And the truth is, I mean, we're all going to die, right? It's very depressing. But
It
it's
is
gonna
hard.
happen.
I mean, I think I still
still
haven't done
holding out hope.
anything.
Yeah.
Like I had a meeting with Kristine at the end of last year. And I'm like, I'm going to do this, and I still haven't done it.
Right.
Because it's just like one of those things you're just like, I don't want to talk
like, I'm
about
fine and-
dying or
yeah.
Tom
Right.
dying
But-
or
but
the
you're-
estate.
But you're right. My mom had her aunt passed away, and she was the one who had to do everything.
Yeah.
And after that experience, she learned so much from it that she was like, she's told us, like, we wouldn't even be talking about death. And she'd just randomly be like, we're going to make sure everything's okay, so you don't have to
Right.
worry. I'm like, okay, Mom.
Right. And what usually happens, when somebody has that, when I'm talking to someone, right, it's like, of course, the first concern is always avoiding probate and avoiding the mess and all that. So we talk about that first usually. And I always like to start with, tell me what your concerns, your fears, your thoughts. You
Right.
tell me where you want to start the conversation.
So it's kind of like what we call a CNA, client needs analysis.
Yeah. And then from that point, I always explain, unless someone already knows, like someone who's just been through it, they might know, but I always explain how the probate process works because I believe that if you don't know how it works once you're gone, how do you know what you even want to do, right? So I try to be a little bit collaborative in the process and give options instead of just saying, you need it. It's like we can get here by taking this road or this road. Which way, and know that if we do this, this is what's going to happen. If we do this, this is what's going to happen. Here's what you can expect. And we kind of have those conversations.
But I mean, it sounds like you advise them along the way, depending on what they. Because I always thought that the will was that's it. Whatever the
Same.
will says, that's what happens.
Right.
But it sounds like that's not necessarily the case. I mean, is there times when the judge doesn't allow it to be transferred over if it's in the will?
There are, but that's getting into probate litigation. That's getting into your undue influence. What, Joe?
Yeah, and
Sounds like a whole pot of messy.
And that's the area of the practice where we overlap, is with that probate litigation and stuff like that. So it's critical knowing on the planning stage, one, like Kristine just said, what's going to happen when you pass. But then also, what are people in Florida actually taking these to court over and fighting about them? What are they saying in court? What are judges thinking? How are they interpreting these? By doing that end of the practice as well, when we meet a new client and we're doing the planning stage, you have the benefit of all of that, thorough through knowledge.
Okay.
What are they usually fighting about?
I'd say family members.
I know that. I know that.
It's
sad, but
the underlining usually is some sort of emotional issue. Either one, they're having a really difficult time dealing with the grief, and because of that, they're lashing out against each other.
Oh, okay.
Or it can be some sort of something happened, 20 years ago at Thanksgiving, and now it's kind of because we have to figure like somebody died, right? That's
Right.
what somebody died. The whole family just lost somebody. So there's all these different elements of grief that come into it, and those will kind of trigger. So sometimes we have people that are fighting over an object that you and I would look at. They'll be fighting over this bag, and it's like, who gets this bag? The bag is essentially worthless when you look at the rest of the estate.
Right.
But those are some of the things that they start. And sometimes you have to talk about the fact that everybody is grieving, and maybe we shouldn't spend the money on this.
I have never thought about that. That makes it that I don't know. I guess I've never been in that situation. So anytime I would hear about family fighting, I'm like, what? Somebody died. Like, what's that all about? Like,
they
chill
want
out. But
it's like, to me, it's money. They to me, I
that's
always
what
think of they're fighting over
like greed
the
or something. But
monetary.
that sounds.
And sometimes it starts as early as when the person just passed, and it's over cremation or burial, or who gets the cremains, or so we've seen. Unfortunately, we've seen a few of those recently.
Do you have a counselor or therapist or something that you work with, like that you bring in? I'm serious. Like that seems like
no, I don't. And sometimes I kind of pseudo play that role.
Yeah,
I bet you do.
Yeah. Counselor of law.
Yeah.
So you recommend somebody getting a will and then also an estate plan. Is that correct?
Right. Well, it's a whole estate plan, right? So for some people, a trust is going to be a better option.
Okay.
For some people, a will and, there's certain types of deeds and things that you can do that'll be a better option. For everybody, it's those other documents from when you're alive, because those are going to help. And you don't need them. Like, people think, it's only when I have a stroke or whatever. Quite honestly, like, Joe has power. He's my agent under my power of attorney, right? So I can decide that he's going to stay home and take care of everything, and I'm going to go travel the world. And in the meantime, I want him to go purchase this piece of property for me. And that paper lets him do it. Not that I'd be able to go and travel the world without him.
I know if you're a military family as well, that's really important, because if they're deployed and things, I've had to have a power of attorney to be able to.
Right, because another misconception, people think that just because you're married, you can speak on behalf of the
That's
other,
what I thought.
and you cannot.
Yeah, I think
Is
we
that
might all
different by
remember
state
the
as well?
Terry
No.
Schiavo case from years ago. Regardless of which side you thought, if life should be continued at that stage when someone's terminal or you don't, you get to make that choice for yourself
If
by
I'm a
planning
vegetable,
these
pull
documents.
the plug.
Well, you say
Pull
that, but
it.
if you don't actually write it down,
gonna say,
nobody can
I
take
just
this
said it on
clip.
national
Right.
radio.
This doesn't count,
Right.
Angela.
No, it doesn't count.
Just turn, you know what I'm saying?
Well, and
Well, the ones that you love are going to have a trial over that
Oh
if
my
you don't
God.
write it down.
We-
are you watching this?
Right, right. And, the thing is, too, when you have it in writing, and this is what I tell a lot of my clients, right? When we talk about that living will, which is pull the plug, not pull the plug, right? It's feeding tube or no feeding tube. At that point, we know, like, it's not going to happen until you're terminal. So make sure your loved ones know, and they do it with,
Do it the right way.
comfort.
And
You're
that's
comforting them.
And that
Right.
is with Coughlan's Law.
Coughlan's
So
Law, yeah.
right now, give out all of your contact
Yep,
information.
it's Coughlan's Law. We're 407-440-1911, www.couglanslaw.com, and that is spelled COUGHLANSLAW.com.
And we didn't get a chance to talk about Coughlan's Law.
We
Dang it.
didn't.
We're going to have
Next
you on
time.
again.
Next time. All right. And you can find me at strikingbrand.com and email melissa@strikingbrand.com.
All right. Well, I am Angela, and we have another whole hour coming up of BaaD Radio, so stay tuned for more.
You interested in networking with Angela and Melissa? Go to BaaDradio.com. Another hour is coming up next of BaaD Radio.
You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady. Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Welcome back as we launch into the second hour of BaaD Radio. I'm going to run through all of the regular info for those of you who might have just joined us. I am Angela Smarito, your host, and we have Melissa Fox, our producer.
What up?
And then we also have Melissa Jacob, our videographer.
Hi. Hello.
Hello. Hello again.
Hello again.
So, in addition to being a videographer, she is also a photographer. And if you go to strikingbrand.com, you can see her other work. But before you do that, go to baadradio.com and see all the previous episodes of the show. Okay. You got to tell me when you're going to do that because you make me laugh.
I gotcha.
All right. So, for the second hour, please welcome Wes Turner and Justin LaFavers with Contender Roofing.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Here, you got to get that closer to you,
Yep.
darling. You
Pull
got to
it
talk
to-
right in there.
Oh,
Right
pull
up
the
on
mic
it.
to
Pull it.
you.
Take it and pull it to
Yeah.
you like
Got
that.
There we
you
go.
Got it.
All right.
I'll be right back.
You mean
I'm
you
just
guys-
checking cameras. Carry on.
You guys didn't do the testing before we got in here? Anyway.
What, are you saying your producer missed a step?
I would never, ever call you out like that.
Thank you.
Mhm. So you guys, welcome in today. I'm glad that this is like your both of you guys' first time on the radio, which makes me kind of happy. Are you nervous?
A little bit. It's different. It's I was telling Melissa I've never been in a room like this, so it's cool, but also, a little bit nervous.
It's a little intimidating. But you know what? We're just here having a good time. I mean, look at her. She's in there eating.
Rogers.
It's a big burger. That is a
burger
big-
It's a macaroni and cheese bacon burger from Frogger's. Thank you.
Oh, bless your heart.
By the way, I'm not eating in studio.
Could you imagine being able to eat that and just be super happy about it?
I couldn't even get my big mouth around the whole thing. It's so
I would say
big.
literally is like this.
Oh yeah, I tried. I squished it down. Macaroni flew across the room. It was pretty.
I just look at it and I gained 5 pounds. So thank you.
Oh, I
Well,
love
I'll live vicariously through you. So enjoy. But you guys, welcome into the studio today, and I'm really excited to have you in here today because Contender Roofing in my eyes is a little bit different than most of the roofing companies that are out there. There's a couple of reasons. One is you guys are the original owners. You started it, you've launched it, and then you are also the ones that go to the house to actually inspect the roof. So how did you guys get started, and did you start it together, or did one start it and the other one came on board?
Yeah, no. So we met in 2012. We became friends, and throughout that time, we were in different careers, doing different things.
You're going to have to tell me what the careers are because you know I'm going to ask you that.
Oh my gosh! So we were both in law enforcement. We met at the police academy.
No
Okay.
kidding.
So super random, completely different,
Okay.
different career paths.
How long did you do that?
I did it for almost 7 years, and I think
I was just under a year.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
so after that, we were kind of just doing different things, got tired of that, and randomly both wound up in the roofing industry. So
That's just like a little bit of a different kind of, that's a little bit of a flip. So how did that happen?
Yeah, so for me personally, I was injured at work and trying to make some extra money because I couldn't work details anymore. So I knew people in the industry, started selling part-time. They were looking for more people. I knew he was kind of looking for a different job at that time. I reached out to Wes, said, hey man, we're doing roofing. He's like, I actually just got signed up with a different roofing company. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then,
Wow.
after years of doing that, we kind of just said, let's do our own thing.
Wow.
Right. Well, the one thing that I did not realize when I got into networking is that a lot of the roofing people that you talk to in BNI are just really just salespeople. And I didn't like I said, I didn't realize that that's the way the whole industry worked. The salesperson, what do they call them, account managers or something like that? They go out there, they find the roofs, then they take that back, and then the roofs get done. But usually the roofs get done by another company that they've outsourced. And that all changed. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, Wes, but when I visited your chapter, you presented that day. And I was like, wait, this isn't what I'm used to. Do you remember that?
I don't know.
I'm
Sorry.
glad I made an
I
impression.
wish I could say yes and we could free ball, but I was afraid there'd be a follow up.
Yeah.
So
You're like, I didn't want to get. No, you did. You gave the 10-minute that day, but you were the owner of the company, was why I was like, okay, well, that's different. He's not a salesperson. And then what you're talking about as far as everything that was on the roof, you're talking about, like, what do they call it? Flashing. And, like, you were showing these pictures of before and after. And I'm like, well, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. So that's why I knew that Contender Roofing was different. So, I meant, how did you get all, like, I'm very curious how you guys are maintaining that, again, especially against some of these bigger roofing companies.
yeah, so between the two of us, I mean, we have 10 years already combined. So it's the amount that we've been able to learn has really been quite a bit. And I think the way we kind of set ourselves up different is we're still, like you said, very much involved. Because I started in that sales position. My company put me in a BNI, and I was that person. I saw how, like,
Right.
the day-to-day, and now we're both owners, and we're both in our own BNI or working
Well, you
group.
guys are like owning the BNI network in Central
Yeah.
Florida. They have members in 3 chapters now, and I think you're going for a 4th or something.
Yeah,
I think we're in 4.
Are
we
you?
are in 4.
We are in
yeah,
4, yeah.
we are in 4.
But that's brilliant.
Yeah, no, it's great. So I think, kind of like, to answer your question, I mean, I think for us, when you really sell yourself and what you know you're capable of and what you can do, I think that's how you set yourself apart from the competition, rather than just having a sales guy in a networking group. For us, we're very much still involved. We're a newer company. We want to succeed. We want to do right by people. So that's
How long have you guys been around?
we just passed the 2-year mark.
Oh, nice.
so-
Congratulations.
That's actually the kill zone. So
It
you got
is.
past that 2-year mark. You
It
guys are good
is.
to go.
Yep. So the statistic is 80% of roofing companies fail within the first 2 years. So we just we made the cut. So that was a huge milestone for us, and we're still going strong.
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of it does have to do with BNI, because I know that, like, even in Nancy's in my chapter, Nancy's wife here. So, and so, but she's gotten like 3 jobs out of just our chapter in the last month or
Okay.
2. And that doesn't even include like, I hired them to do just some stuff on the roof for a fix, which is another thing. You guys, a lot of companies won't do roof repairs. It's just, they just want the new roofs. They want to deal with the insurance companies, but you guys can't do that anymore, can you?
There's still ways around it. We try not to do that.
Uh-huh.
Eventually we would like to work with insurance companies, not against them.
Right.
And obviously you can tell insurance companies, obviously they want to make money.
Right.
They're in a business too. So after continuously getting hammered by roofing companies, rates are going to go up.
Right.
They're going to go out a bit. They're going to leave Florida, which is what we're seeing happening, and this has gone on for, years.
Well, there was the whole assignment of benefits thing that got abolished in December of last year. So, but I've heard some people that are like, that was the worst thing ever. But I also talked to some people that are like, you know what, it doesn't bother us none. So
Yeah, I mean, I think the assignment of benefits hack that a lot of roofing companies were using was they would tell the insurance company a roof was way more expensive than it was, and that way they put that much more money in their pocket, and also they keep the homeowner from paying their deductible. So the homeowner looks at it as, oh, it's a free roof, because basically this giant roofing company is saying the roof is way more expensive than it is. So it really leads to increasing insurance premiums. Insurance companies can't pay out for those policies on a high level. And like Justin said, that's part of the problem we're in the insurance market right now. A lot of people are having a hard time getting coverage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm one of the first people that will job right out insurance companies, but it did have to start somewhere. It did have to start with that they want to make money, but then you've got other people that are trying to make money the wrong way. And like you said, inflating the cost of goods, inflating this, inflating that, and then pocketing more than they should.
Right.
So it's a vicious circle if you think about it. And you want to know who gets screwed at the end?
The homeowner.
Us.
Absolutely.
Nothing's free.
No, somebody always has to pay. I'm not a fan of the insurance companies, but I do know that they serve a purpose. And I actually think that your view of it is refreshing in the fact that let's work with them and not against them, because working against each other is just it's not working at all. We're not getting anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, in any relationship, like there's a.
Oh.
What does that mean?
That means
Time to wrap it up, kids. For the first segment, anyway.
That's going to be our cliffhanger, so you guys stay tuned. It was funny to see Wes jump like that. All right, stay tuned for more Bad Radio after the break.
Want to network with us? Want to be on the radio? Go to baadradio.com. That's BAAD radio.com.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Yeah, boy.
Welcome back, and this portion of the show is brought to you by Frogger's Grill and Bar. Are you ready for the ultimate sports experience? Look no further than Frogger's Grill and Bar. We've got your sports fix covered with Saturday and Sunday football. Catch all the action on tons of high-definition TVs while enjoying your drink specials available all week long. And don't miss out on Frogger's amazing menu where everything is fresh, never frozen. Oviedo, Mount Dora, Apopka, and Altamont Springs. Frogger's, hopping with food and fun. All right, we are talking with Contender Roofing right now, and to be honest with you, too much time has passed, like 40 seconds. I can't remember what the cliffhanger was.
I don't remember either.
I said in every relationship.
Every relationship is a compromise, right? So whether that's the person you live with, you're married to, it's the same in roofing with insurance companies. You want to have a healthy relationship. I mean, you don't want to have the insurance company who has too much power and then the roofer that has too much power. So ultimately, going along with Justin's idea, if you can work together, I think it makes for a much healthier, happier environment.
Now, do you guys get the majority of your business through B&I residential type of work, or do you work with contractors, or what I'm trying to say is, what's your best lead source?
So it's kind of a mix. I mean, we get quite a bit from B&I, building those relationships. I know I've been in my group for roughly 5 years. I believe.
You're the Mavens, right?
Mavens out of Longwood. I think 2009. So what's that? 4 years, 4.5 years. And Wes has been in it. I think
you're the Winter Park chapter.
No, we're out by like Avalon, Waterford.
Why do I remember it being in Winter Park?
You were in Winter Park they met in Winter Park for a while.
Oh, maybe at the Museum of Art.
I don't know. It was in a really cool building. We were up on like a second floor, like a loft kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was Winter Park. See, you remember better. That's why I don't remember the presentation.
Yeah. See, I just have a good memory.
Yeah. No, it was just a really cool building. And I met, and Bryce Morrison, or is it Morrison or Morris?
Morrison.
Was like the president. And no, like I said, I took a lot away from that in regards to Contender Roofing. So it was really good. So I wanted to talk to you guys about repairs. I'm curious why other of the bigger companies don't do repairs. Is it just not a moneymaker?
I think it's more of they're looking for the big deal. They're looking for the whole roof. They're looking for, repairs take time. You're taking people off jobs to do the repairs. And I think their view is when you can get a whole roof out of it. Like if I come to your house and you need a repair, why would I try to do the repair when I can get you to sign a paper and your insurance company will pay for your whole roof?
But it's not that simple anymore, is it?
It's not anymore, and a lot of these people are getting turned down for repair. Hey, I just can't help you. I'm sorry.
That stinks. It's like, it's the same thing as like a car. Like it's cheaper to repair it, but if people could make money and selling you a whole new car, but people don't need a whole new car. They need a repair. Like how do you bridge that?
Right. Well, I think that, because they do repairs, then I'm going to hire them for the whole enchilada when the time comes.
Right.
Because they were willing to do a repair. I had a repair done. I don't know what caused it. I think you said it was like a branch or something. But I did kind of like a pre-hurricane season like overhaul on the house. and we had him come out and do a free inspection. So you do the free inspections, right? And do you guys come out and do those inspections, or do you have a team? How many people are on your team?
So we have us two, Nancy, Asia, Ricky, Austin.
So what's that,
So
five?
five or six.
So one of you guys, Nancy, does she go out there and get on the roof in her cute little, little shoes?
No, she won't do No, she won't do
She
that.
probably would if you showed her how.
Yeah.
I think Nancy would be on a roof in a heartbeat if you gave her the opportunity.
I think so too, and
Oh, no.
definitely thought about the idea for sure. I mean,
If she will, she can hang the Christmas lights this year.
Right? Nancy, I hope you're listening to this. So I have met a couple women that were in roofing, and they were genuine badasses. Like, they would run circles around the guys in regards to getting stuff done. So I'm just putting that out there. Is if you come across a woman that's interested in doing that sort of stuff, she will be awesome.
yeah, I know we've talked about it before. Women in the trades can kill. They can kill. It's not a man's game. It's I think as time goes by, we're going to see more and more of it, and they're very successful at it.
I know that we were talking with somebody who does it was Liberty Property Inspections. They do home inspections, and one of their best inspectors was a female because she was smaller and she could get into all these little cracks and crevices and check things out from the attic. And he was like, she was the best. So anyway, so you do the repairs but you also do the full roof. So let's talk about my roof for a second. I don't know if you remember it so much, but I just like had a patch of like dark, and it was like almost like I think you said that a root or a branch has something. So it damaged my shingles. See, the way I look at it, it's just like tar with like sand on it. Is that really what a shingle is? And like, I mean, can just that little bit of sand being worn off really cause me a leak?
Yeah, eventually down the road. I mean, that's why hail is such a moneymaker. If you have hail damage, because that piece of ice hits the shingle, and you have the asphalt granules on top, and then there's the fiberglass mat that has the asphalt in it as well. So if those granules are ripped off, those are what is protecting that fiberglass from the sun. So if those, like the sand or the granules are not there, the sun will bake that mat and it will just tear it apart. And that is it's a common leak area. It takes time. It'll take 2 years, 2.5 years, but I mean, it'll be leak city after that.
After Ian, were you guys like crazy busy?
Not so much. I mean, I think Irma was 2017, 18. I can't remember. That was a lot more of a
wind versus rain,
for
right?
sure.
That makes
And
sense.
I mean, rain drives your repair calls, your leak calls, so it's always good. But we didn't get a lot of calls from Ian.
Oh yeah, I think that Ian was a lot of water.
Yeah.
Because I know that our house flooded. So just that little bit can like make a difference, huh?
Yep, over time. So it's not like oh, the granules fall off and it's leaking. But after, in that Florida heat, the Florida sun, once it bakes that fiberglass underneath those granules, it'll tear the shingle apart. Yep.
So are hailstorms and hurricanes like the biggest damage causers for roofs?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say, with the hailstorms, obviously, it's more localized, right? You have your patches here and there. With the hurricane, it's widespread. So you get a lot more calls for hurricane because either trees are falling on the house. It's ripping everything off the roof, where the hail, if you don't necessarily see it or your neighbors see it, you don't really know because looking at the roof, it's, you don't really know if you have hail damage or not.
How long have you guys lived in Orlando?
I'm a native, so I was born in Sanford.
Okay.
And then
I grew up here too.
Okay. Do you guys remember the hailstorm that happened in the late 80s that it literally had ice or balls of ice this big?
So we were both born in the late 80s.
Oh my God.
I'm not trying to.
Melissa,
I was like, she's setting me up. She's setting me up.
She said that. I was like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to help.
Were you here in the late 80s?
No, early 90s.
Okay, so it might have been the early 90s. My older sister Carrie was at UCF, and I was in high school. I graduated in 91. There was a hailstorm that happened here out by the UCF area where, I kid you not, the hail was this big. And for years and years and years afterwards, you would see cars driving around with just these huge divots all in it. And my sister's car was one of them. But so much damage. And I remember my dad getting mad at my sister, like, because she was at school at UCF, and he was like, why didn't you move the car? And, she's like, well, because I would have died.
Right.
And he was like, he was so mad because that car, I mean, like I said, we didn't ever fix it. It wasn't even worth the fixing of it. But how often do hailstorms actually happen? Because we don't see it, but every once in a while we'd be like,
I hear about it.
Yeah. I mean, substantial ones, I mean, maybe one a year, maybe two a year in localized areas.
I thought that it was maybe more than that. We just, it doesn't always hit the ground kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean, more like I was in one several months ago, right? But I mean, you're talking pea-sized hail. It's not really causing damages.
Well, how big does it need to be cause roof damage?
1.5 to 2 inches usually is the.
I want to see this, like
Yeah.
that big.
Yeah,
That's
big.
close.
Golf-
That's close. Golf
like
ball
golf
size.
ball. It's golf ball size.
Visual.
It was like 2.5 inch. What? I don't think I understand.
With your hand.
But you held the hand up. It was the perfect proportion.
Yeah.
You're right on
it
the
was
money.
the nail. It was like the big old stiletto nails that I have on there. Nancy said you guys would be fun having you guys here together. So that is very, very true. I'm trying to think. So I know you guys just did my friend Angela's house, right? And so that was an Hurricane Ian claim. Oh, is it really already time to wrap up? Okay, well, we're going to be back with more BaaD Radio, so stay tuned.
Let me tell ya. Yeah, it's a world that man can eat at all.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of the show is brought to you by Liberty Property Inspections. Your home is one of your most important investments, so don't trust it to just anyone. LibertyPropertyInspections.net, helping you protect your investment. And so that was who I was just talking about. They are sponsors of the show. Mike Heyman is the owners, and I don't know if he's in the chapter that has Brian Hastings in on Wednesdays in the morning at, I want to say it's the St. Stephen's Church, or one of those churches off of in 434 where the Starbucks is and everything, right by I-4. So that is a great chapter to visit. I do think they have a roofer though, so you might not be able to. But anyway, so before we went to break, we were starting to tell a story about my friend Angela. And she has a great name, first and foremost. But anyway, she is a friend of mine, and I saw a post. I knew she had gotten damaged, or home damage from the hurricane, but I didn't know to what extent. So I saw her post, and she did in search of a good roofing company. And of course, me being in the networking groups that I am and knowing Nancy with Contender Roofing, I connected the two. So Nancy called her right away, which was amazing. And just, again, I'm going to plug Nancy again because she does an amazing job as far as the customer service go. Because Angela King called me afterwards and was like, thank you so much for that, because she had just had a really, really bad experience with a roofing company before that. I don't know all the bits and pieces, but it was almost like they came out, they got started, then they disappeared, and it was just a nightmare. Do you guys know more about the backstory on that one, or I don't even know?
Yeah, so I think with that job, this is a great example of kind of what we do. So Angela had an insurance claim approved, and we don't take a down payment. So we don't go in and ask for money up front for these jobs. So I think still we're still trying to figure out payment with Angela. So we went in, we basically got her list of what she wanted to do, her roofing, her colors. She also had a solar panel system installed on the roof. So basically what we did is we coordinated the removal of that system, installed the roof, of course, passed all the permitting, and coordinated the reinstall of the solar system. And all between the interim, all of that, we also coordinated to have her house painted.
Right.
So I think that's how Justin and I are a little bit different. We really lean on that.
I didn't say that's how you're a lot different.
we really lean on that service side. So not a dime up front. And we basically coordinated all that work. And ultimately, her happiness that makes us happy.
Well, it makes me happy,
yeah.
too, because she tells me about how awesome you guys are. But if you think about it, too, since you are in the networking channels that you are, you know the painters. You know the people that you can call on, that you can trust, that are going to come out and do a good job. And so that's the perfect case scenario of seeing an opportunity, passing the referral, and then you guys were able to pass the referral to even somebody else within BNI. So it's just such a really cool idea, the whole networking thing. I was talking to the guest before about when people put together a business plan when they want to launch a business, and how many times, well, more times than not in a business plan, you don't see, I'm going to join a networking group. This is the networking group that I'm going to join. Or, you know what I mean? They talk about, I'm going to put X amount of money aside for advertising,
marketing,
and but not networking. How did you end up? So you said that you got into BNI through a company that put you in, right?
That was 2018. Yeah.
Did you go and fight and kick in like, I don't want to do this?
Yeah, but then you start to realize when you're working for a commission, I mean, if your company's going to pay to put you in a BNI, this is a great lead source. And, me in 2018, kind of learning the industry, it was great for me because I'd never networked with anybody before. So it's good. You get to meet people, you get to learn about other people, and you get to learn how you can help them and yourself. So it's a great situation.
Absolutely.
So how far do you guys service? What's your service area?
Roughly about the I-4 corridor. I mean, 50 miles in every direction.
Okay.
Pretty general, but we'll go a little bit outside of that to help people out.
All right, awesome. What's your favorite part of like what you guys do? Do you have a favorite part?
I like the initial meeting of the people personally. I like to go meet people, talk to people, see if we have anything in common. I really enjoy talking with people, doing things like that. Once that's done, Wes kind of takes over. I believe he likes that portion a little bit better versus me talking with people. So it's a great jive between us with the homeowner. But we both love the customer service aspect. I want to make sure they're taken care of and see them happy at the end of the job.
Yeah, for me, it's similar to Justin, but it's at the end. So any issue that might come up that the homeowner is concerned about, that's what I like. I like the problem solving aspect. They like, well, this new wood you installed on the outside of my house doesn't match the paint. Okay, well, we'll match the paint.
Right.
And before, it's like when this would have been an argument for any other roofing company or any other company performing a trade, for us, it's like, let's just do it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, because you own the company, you have the ability to do that, and that's really awesome. So back to the insurance thing, though, and I mean, are you guys just going to have to like sit on your hands until the insurance company pays?
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's how it goes. It's definitely part of it, but it also gives us an edge because if we say we don't take a deposit and you pay when you're happy, a lot of people want to buy from a company like that.
No, I agree. I just wonder. I mean, I'm actually like commend you to be able to be in a position to where you can play that waiting game because there's companies out there that like make money off of contractors that can't afford to wait to collect, and they charge them an interest rate. I mean, very successful companies, I might add.
Yeah, for our first year, I mean, it may not look like it, but we ate very lean. So we took all the money that we were making and we put it back into the company.
Right.
And we still continue to do that. And that it gives us that cash flow to carry those periods where we are waiting on the insurance company.
What does the wait time look like nowadays?
For insurance, I mean, typically, like with Angela, for example, she has a mortgage on her home. A lot of time the mortgage company wants to be put on that check because they don't want
Gotcha.
they just don't want them taking the money.
Right.
So
Oh, you mean they don't want the contractor just taking the money, right?
Or Angela, the contractor. They want to make sure the work's done before they release the money.
I understand.
Because it's their investment too,
Right.
in the home. But typically, so your insurance company will write you a check, and it'll have the mortgage company on it. So when you get the check, you sign it.
And then the mortgage
You
company
send
has
it to your mortgage company. That takes a week or two for them to sign it, send it back.
But we're not talking about months and years and stuff like that, or are we?
We'll take 1 to 2 months.
Okay, that's not as bad as I thought. I was thinking it was like 6 months to a year to 2 years.
We did wait on one for.
Yeah, one of them took almost a year.
Yeah.
But they had already released a majority of the payment. It was just a follow-up. But it's still just as frustrating when it's your money. You know the job's done. You're just trying to get paid.
No, I totally understand that. Okay, this is a question I've been dying to ask, but hopefully it's good. Is like, I want to talk to you guys about the crews that have come out and actually do the work. How do you pick your crew? And do you have the same crew that you work with time and time again?
So as far as picking the crew, what I look for is I like using a crew that works for a company. So they have their own company, whether that's an LLC or S Corp, however they're registered. That way you can tell that they care about the work they're performing. And obviously they have the documentation as far as their own general liability, their own workers' comp, and of course we have our own as well.
Insurance as well.
But that just shows they take the extra step because they're in business to make money and do the right thing as well. So that's the first vetting process. The other vetting process is making sure that at least one of the crew members speaks English.
Mm-hmm.
That's important for me. Just
I mean, that's good.
yeah.
That's something like for the scope of work, so everybody understands what's going on. Mm-hmm.
Sure. So those are the two big ones, and then you can tell when you have a good crew that does good work.
Mm-hmm.
We have somebody on the job, every job, monitoring the job progress.
So somebody from Contender Roofing is out there all the time.
All the time.
That's amazing.
So that way, you can kind of keep an eye on the crew and kind of keep an eye on their efficiency and their quality of work. And,
you know what? My neighbor got a new roof, and those guys doing the roof stole a bunch of stuff out of our garage. All Tom fishing
God.
stuff.
Wow.
Mad.
Wow.
I know. But that's not why I asked that question. I was just curious. But I do want to talk about that a little bit more. So we're going to go to break, and when we get back, we are going to actually wrap up BaaD Radio. So stay tuned.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And I'd like to give a huge thank you to our sponsors, Bolts Legal. Fear no storm with boltslegal.com. 33 Tanning Spa with locations in Altamont Springs and Longwood. Andrews Law PA, auto accident attorney. Contact Andrews Law today at andrewslawpa.com. And Crazy Muscle Nutrition with their new address at 1015 Unit 129 State Road 436 in Castleberry. And our newest sponsor, InBalance.com. And their phone number is 407-801-8502. We're going to have Derek Brantley on the show again coming up. So excited about that. All right, I can't believe that we are already at our last segment, and we are with Contender Roofing, and we've talked about several different things, but again, I want to go back to what we started with it's a family-based business, and it's just by the conversation. I knew this before you guys came in, that you care more about, you're going to give some sacrifices on your end so that the client is getting what they need, which is in the industry. I hate saying it, but it's just not very normal. It sounds bad, right?
Yeah, no, the industry does not have a very good name, which, we're a small portion of that, but we are trying to change that image of it.
Right. So let's talk about that image and what you guys are doing to overcome that. And it really does have to do with, they're not storm chasers. That's something else. Or is that storm chasers? People that kind of fly in after a storm, say they're going to do this, that, and the other, get the insurance check and disappear.
Yeah, our big thing, and I alluded to it previously, but our huge difference that not a lot of roofing companies do is the no money up front. So
what
very
made you decide to do that, though? That's kind of a risk in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but it's because Justin and I both worked for companies that didn't take a deposit. And now they're few and far between. It's very hard to find, but it really gives that homeowner a sense of trust because they're like, I'm not giving you any money up front. I need to be happy and content when the job's done. So that's something that we're willing to, really push. That's something that we're passionate about. You need to be happy at the end of your job, and then you can hopefully pay us. Be nice.
Yeah. No.
Oh my gosh! Definitely, please pay them.
That is the end game. What about different types of roofing? So I know that before the hurricanes in 2004. You saw a lot of the flat shingles, and the flat shingles went to this layered shingle. What was that flat one, and why did they switch it? Was it because of the hurricane damage?
Yeah, those are 3-tap shingles, just kind of older technology.
Or they just it was like square. There wasn't any sort of.
Correct. Yeah. So I just think it's new technology. The architectural shingles now they stick better. They're overlapped. They hang on better, and they don't get as much wind damage.
How often are there changes like that in the materials
and upgrade
and stuff?
materials?
Very infrequent. You got to look back. The asphalt shingle, you're going back to like the late 1800s, pretty much is how long it's been around. And it really kind of got revamped in the 1930s, 1940s. So it's slow changes. So when you hear something like a Tesla roof coming out, which is a completely brand new technology.
Tesla, like in the car, Tesla?
Yeah. Yes.
Like they have them to where the tiles are like solar.
Little solar panels, yeah.
Yes.
Have you guys done any of those?
No.
Go ahead. I think they're just in testing right now in California, right?
Yeah. It's still a prototype. I think they are installing some of them as prototypes on people's houses. We're hesitant in Florida because we just get so much rain. So
I think that going solar is great. I hate the way they look.
That's what I'm saying. But they're like tiles.
You're right. No, if they had that, I would totally consider it.
Such a good idea, and it covers your whole roof as opposed to panels. So
Yeah.
what are the other? But I didn't think about that. You said you're hesitant because of the rain. Is there anything else like with the hurricanes and stuff? Would that like deter?
Maybe.
I think that I'm not super familiar with the system, but I think that they're heavy enough to withstand the wind.
Mhm.
It's just when the rain gets in those, like the nooks and crannies.
Mm.
So like you have the shingles that are kind of almost like glued and nailed together. It's pretty watertight. But when you're talking about a new technology that's a panel
Mhm.
that you're installing in California and Florida, the weather's very
Right.
different. So it's
Right.
kind of like who's going to take the first step. But
Right.
I agree with Angela. I mean, it's
Right.
solar's the future. So they're going to find ways to work it in, make it look better. And
Yeah,
Well,
I just like I said, we've looked at solar before because we're in Winter Springs, we have so much tree cover that
Mhm.
there was no place on our roof that
Right.
they could even put it. But I mean, when I was at the time, I wasn't thinking about the aesthetics of it because I just wasn't.
Mhm.
Does it damage the roof a lot though when they put on the solar panels?
big time. So right now,
Not
I
just
mean,
a little
big
bit,
time.
big time.
So they're screwing those panels down through your roofing system into the trusses of the roof. So you have a screw that's going through the panel and now through those shingles that you were trying to keep watertight. So there's a lot of problems with solar installations right now in Florida because there's so much rain. But going along with what you're saying, I think as the technology improves, I mean, I think we'll be in a better place. It's just it's a tough period of time right now.
So right now you would wait if it were you.
It's
on
tough
solar?
because we have solar partners who do a great job. So
Mhm.
they do good installs and they warranty their work. But it's the same thing as with solar. It's still very fledgling. It's very young. So you
Well,
have
it's got some
companies,
bad rap too,
right?
because of the
right.
whole financing,
Yep.
and then this isn't happening, and that's not happening. So they have a lot of kinks that they got to work out.
Absolutely, for sure.
And then, what about the standard length of a roof? How long should a good roof last?
So on paper,
Can I guess?
go ahead.
It's supposed to be 30 years.
No.
So they've upped it to 50.
50?
50.
But
that's
the
like in
insurance
a,
company says you have to pay so much after 10.
yes. So that's like in a laboratory, right? I don't say here in last. But when you have in Florida, you have thunder. You wake up, it could be 45 degrees.
Right?
Yeah.
By 10 o'clock, it's 97 degrees.
Right.
True. And then
By
there's a
by-
monsoon.
By 4 o'clock, it's a thunderstorm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then it drops back down and it gets cool overnight again.
Mm-hmm.
All that fluctuation
Uh-huh.
compresses your roof, raises your
It
roof.
makes my house crack. You hear the cracking sounds.
Right. So
Uh-huh.
it's moving your shingles, the rain, the wind. Every time something hits that, you see the granules fall off. It's continuously damaging the shingles.
Right.
So which
When
decreases
somebody
the life
says
of
your
it.
roof is 50 years old, I'm like, oh dear Lord, you're in
So
trouble.
realistically, then.
Yeah.
Realistically, I'd say between 15 and 20 years.
Yeah.
But unless your insurance makes you change it, which we've seen them say, hey, at
Yeah.
the 10-year mark,
Well, isn't
it's time to
there a
change it.
law that says if your roof now this is like new, or if your roof is 10 years or older, then they're not going to do a full
They're not going to insure it. Or something?
Well, they'll still insure it, but they're not going to pay for the full roof to get
Yep,
replaced.
that's it.
So I think they just changed that, right? That was just recent.
Right.
I don't know the correct verbiage. I talked with my insurance person, my BNI,
Mm-hmm.
and he's still a little it's still a little back and forth. So I think they're still trying to figure exactly what they're going to do on that, and it keeps wavering a little bit.
Well, I think what it is they're calculating, they're trying to put in a percentage of what they're responsible for based off of how old the house is. So if it's something happens between 10 years and under, they'll do the full.
Mhm.
If it's 10 years or over, but like between 10 and 15, it's 50%. If your house is, or the roof is over 15, they're only going to give you 25%. So your roof is going to have to get replaced, but your insurance company is only going to have to give you 25% of it, which means that the rest of it's coming out of your pocket.
So something has to happen within the 10-year mark, or else you're paying for it.
And that's a
Yeah.
big misconception too, right? Homeowners have insurance, and they say, "Oh, I have insurance. Insurance has to pay for it."
Yeah.
And they're not your savings account.
No, definitely
Mm.
not. And
You
they're
know.
not planning on being it. In fact,
Absolutely
if
not.
anything, people need to start really
But-
putting money aside for that kind of thing.
That doesn't sound like it would be really helpful for insurance companies if they're like, I don't know. Like my first thought is, okay, well, I'm gonna have to find somebody to tell my insurance company that there's roof damage.
That's when
from-
they can call the
from a
insurance company for
storm.
you.
under 10 years because I have that deadline now.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's not much you can do.
Helpful to them.
No, I mean, you can't fake a storm because they'll look on a storm model and it will tell them that you didn't have storms at that time. All right, so we got about a minute till the show's over. So now is the time that you guys give out all of your contact information.
So as far as the website, it's contender, www.contender, that's with a D, so CONTENDER, roofing.com. And Justin, our phone number?
Our phone number is 407-619-0556. You can shoot us both an email at justin@contenderroofing.com or wes@contenderroofing.com.
And then there's also Nancy.
Also Nancy.
Also Nancy, the warden.
Yeah, the warden, as we call her. Nancy at contenderroofing.com.
All right, and you can find me at strikingbrand.com.
And I am Angela, and on Facebook, Business at a Distance, Central Florida Networking. Thank you so much for being here, and see you next week on BaaD Radio.
Oh.